Hello, everyone. I think I might have my mic on. We might be good. We got quite a few of you in here already. Welcome, Paula, Katie, Debbie, Cameron, my hubby, he's downstairs. Luis is here. Suzanne, Laura. Laura, I hope you're feeling better. I know a few of you were getting recovering from being sick and everything, and I know you were one of them. Oh, Louise says, oh my gosh, she's so excited. I thought of you when I made this one. Hi, Peg. Hi, Rena. Hello. So this week I'm doing a imaginative portrait, and I've done a few of these, but I thought of doing the face, keeping it pretty normal and not going all out with the face. I've done a few that have my wonky eyes that I like to do. And so you're seeing it at a spot where I haven't, it's definitely got a lot of work left to it. I probably have about 3 hours in the painting, 2.5 hours in the painting. And so portraits always take a little bit longer, but my goal for this one is to really break it down into steps. That's why I really worked on the face quite a bit, and trying to make it more simplified for those of you learning. Let's see, we got Sandy here. Welcome. Hello. CM Burke, I think you're new. I don't think I've seen you in chat before. Welcome, Roseanne from Connecticut. Hello, hello. Some new people here. Oh, well, you got to rest up, Laura, so that's probably a good thing that you're just resting. Yeah, there's a lot of weather out there, Karen. Hello, I hope you're doing well. Suzanne, oh, I'm glad you love her. Thank you. Hi, Sarah, welcome. Well, great. There's quite a few of you in here already. We got 27 of you already. Haven't really got started yet. But I'm gonna talk, I know I have quite a bit of the face done, but we're gonna talk about skin tones and how to simplify them. I'm gonna do that today, and I'm gonna work on her a little bit. This is the this week's Pastel Insider membership lesson. For the full lesson, you can join my Pastel membership. It's $19.99 a month. You get access to all of my lessons and classes, and I'm at where I'm over 40. So there's 40 in there so far. And I was all kind of proud of myself. I'm like, man, little old me is 40 lessons in there. We've been busy. So every week we've been working on something. I do take one week off a month to recharge. Last month I didn't do that, but so I'm going to talk a little bit what we're using and my supplies, and then we'll go into it. But I'm here mainly for you guys. This is why I'm here, is to chat with you and to connect with all of you. I'm glad, Loretta, you're looking forward to it. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Claudia. Howdy. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that you made it. I'm going to call you Burke if that's okay. That's great. Way to go. A lot of people here. So glad that you guys are here. So what I'm using is a UArt sanded pastel paper. It's in a 600 grade. And this paper allows me to do a lot of what I do. Now there is a lot of push and pull of like, do I go with the cream paper or do I go with the dark? Now when I'm working with the dark paper, I will say portrait work is a little bit more challenging because you can see some of your strokes when you're working with the paper. So you have to kind of, give and take a little bit and kind of not do too many layers in the sense of just putting darks under lights. And that's probably the biggest challenge if you're working with a dark paper. Now, I love working with dark paper. It outweighs the negatives because I really don't have to put in all my darks, and I love bringing things out of the paper. Now, for those of you new that have just discovered me, the UArt paper is the star of my show. You wouldn't think that the paper would be the biggest deal out of a process, but it really is. And it's something that a lot of people overlook. They say, well, I'm not good enough to use good paper. It costs a lot. Well, I'm going to show you today that you can erase. I've erased this piece of paper probably 15, 20 times. It doesn't damage the tooth. This is a 600 grade. I'm going to be doing some color mixing on here and showing you some of the colors. But here's something to think about when you're new. If you don't invest in the right supplies, you're not going to be working at the same level that the teacher is working. So you'll be struggling against something that you don't need to struggle against if you're using a paper that is more aligned with the lesson. So you can get away with using like a pastel matte, but all of those are about the same price point. And most of the people that are using like a pastel matte or a Canson velvet, they're using those because they most likely they can't get them because they're international. So I'm hoping you will make it a lot easier for you international peeps to get the paper. But so I working as a 12 by 16. Now this is kind of big, but what I've found, if I do a portrait or any type of figurative work, it is really hard to work small when you're new. The smaller you go, look at my hand. This is my hand is her face. If I go and make it just a fist on a 9 by 12, I'm gonna have to be all in here like this, like, oh my gosh, I'm using my pastel pencils. You just end up using your pastel pencils a ton. And I'm already gonna be using quite a bit of pastel pencils, but you know, I wanna keep her face about my hand size, and that allows me to use all my tools and not get so tight and all of that. So I'm using PanPastel. I have quite a few up here because what I'm starting to do as I'm teaching is I'll bring in some of the new colors, but I'm sharing with you how to mix them. Talking a lot about that, and I'm talking a lot about how to desaturate things, how to really make the use out of the palette I'm working with. So I curate a palette. So you can see all the colors behind me, which that reminds me I got to show you last week's lesson. But when I'm curating, I don't have them all out. I used to do that when I was newer, have them out on the side and just dip into them. But when I started learning, especially stick pastelists, they will curate their color palette. That means they're picking them out and putting the ones that they're going to use for this particular painting on another palette. Then those go back. You know, if I'm pulling something, I'll pull something from them. But it really helps you not get overwhelmed. It helps you stay focused. It also helps you create color harmony because you're pulling from the same colors. And you get to really learn how to mix because you're isolating your experience and understanding the relationships of the colors and how they work together. All right, here, let's see. Pam's here. Welcome, Pam. Karen, Cal Studios here. She's new and she's been loving my work. Thank you so much. So glad you're here. Welcome to the group. It's a real positive community. Karen, yeah, all the OGs are very welcoming to all the newbies. So glad you guys have all made it. Yeah, so I'm caught up on chat. So when I've picked these colors, you know, I have my red here. I have my red iron oxide. I decided I wanted the red iron oxide light. That is a new color in the expansion pack. But I show you throughout of how to mix that. So if you don't have it, it's an easy mix. It's white and red iron oxide. So I show that along the way. I have my burnt siennas here. I've brought in the burnt sienna light because I'm loving that with the skin tones. And let's see, I did a phthalo blue. If you don't have phthalo blue, I was going to do cerulean, but decided not to because I really love this phthalo blue light. So that's a new color. And then I also have the bright yellow green. No, I want to call it bright, but it's blue-green shade. I can do the blue-green, but that is a new color. Now you can mix this color by using phthalo and diarylide. It's a very easy mix. So let's see here. Oh, hi, Jen. Welcome to the group. So glad that you're here. Glad everyone made it. The time zone thing really messed everything up last week, so that was kind of miserable. So before we really dive in, I'm going to show you last week's painting. And I also have worked on getting my colors to match where they look more true to form. Now I'm working on getting a camera for my palette. My palette is not true to form. You're going to see that right now when I pull a color and put it out front. This is more true. It's a little bit more vibrant, but it's really hard to get it perfect. And the actual, my iPhone is the perfect. That's what I film everything in. But this is pretty close. So I was able to get my saturation to be more true. This is pretty close. So I worked on that. That was a big one. Last week was driving me crazy. So here is the painting from last week, all done. So I wanted you guys to see that. And this piece, we worked with a basic 3 figure, and I took you on that journey, and it was so much fun. And this is the figurative abstraction. So that was that lesson. That one's available now. All the lessons go in on Fridays for my Pastel Insider members. So you get the full journey on this one, and the mark making and all of that was just a ton of fun. I had a great time. Let's see. Hi, Michelle. Welcome. So glad you made it. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Yes, and also a big welcome to all the newbies. This is a great community. You'll love it here. Yes, Luis is one of our long timers. He's been here since the beginning. All right, so this was the figurative abstraction. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Peg. I hope you guys liked it. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Excuse me. And we will get into some, I think I'll warm up and show you guys some, gosh, I'm going to have to pause it for a second. Just a sec. All right. I think I got that out of the way. My computer is weird today. I have a raising desk, lowering and raising, so it's a sit stand type thing. And my motor went out and it won't go up. So all of my stuff for my live is on this desk and it's way down here. So I can't, normally I stare at this screen for most of the time, but I won't be able to do that today. So I'm going with the flow, people. I'm going with the flow. Well, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. You're Pastel Insider. So I took you guys all on this journey. We went, what I'm starting to do too is I'm also taking you through doing a value study. So there's a little bit of reflection here. Let me get that. There you go. So we're doing a little value study. I recorded it. I walk you through it because a lot of my work comes from imagination. I use multiple types of references. I don't really just go straight from a piece. And you can see that in my work if you've followed me for a while. So I started doing these value studies this last couple times, but then I got asked to record the whole process. So that is in your lesson. So that I was really excited how that turned out. So that was like about 30 minutes. Then it takes me probably a day and a half to come up with my idea, to draw it all up, to do all that. I'm trying to talk about how long things take. One of my best friends, she was talking to me and she just thought I just drew that up and it was just super easy. I'm like, no. It takes up quite a few hours. So I provide the line art for you. You get the line art so you can follow along and just enjoy learning about painting, about value, and all of those things. So that's also included in the Pastel Insider membership. So I'm just going to put my Pastel Insider stuff here and then I'll get started and I'll pin this. And if you guys want to learn more, you can follow the link. Let me see if it'll let me pin it. Here we go. So that'll be pinned to the top. Your lessons in the Pastel Insider are so informative. Thank you. You're welcome, Pam. Thanks for the shout out. I'm excited you feel that way. Oh, good, Luis. I'm glad you're excited too. Chrisella's in the house. Hi, Chrisella. Welcome. I think I've said hi to everyone. I hope I haven't missed anybody. Oh, Stacy's in the house. The OGs are all showing up. That's awesome. So glad you made it. So glad you made it. Okay, so we're going to go in and we're going to simplify and talk about the really getting into the color skin tones and simplifying them. And I think that it can be really overwhelming to people, but a lot of the skin tones and everything is really working on your values. And that's what the value sketch can really help out with along the way. Plus all of my lessons, you get the finished painting at the end, and that's basically your main reference. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get a wand of here, and I'm going to show you some color mixing. So we worked on some of this. This is like our first layers, basically initial. I've brought this up quite a bit, but I can't really take it much farther because I have to get the rest of the scene in here so I can color balance the whole thing and get my values down. Right before the live, I was bringing up this part because I didn't want it to feel like a helmet on her head, and I think I need to adjust the hairline a little bit. So I was playing around with that idea. Karen says, to all of you who have signed on since I did, too many of you to list, but I'm glad you're all here. Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, Stacy, well, I'm glad that you made it here for a few minutes. That's awesome. Oh, Francine's here. Hi, Francine. You snuck in here. Been listening in the car, finally home. I've been looking forward to this. She's wonderful. Welcome to all the new folks. Such a great community. I love you guys. Okay. So the thing with the skin tones is you can go more academic, more, traditional, and a lot of those colors can work in with using the burnt siennas. But what I like to do, even in tradition, is, working with the shadows of the face. Sometimes you don't want to put it all into one tone, like in the sense of color, because what happens is it will look really flat. So if I did a whole piece in burnt sienna and it was all in burnt sienna, even though if I bring burnt sienna up and I get it in all of these, this whole family. So I've got almost, quite a bit of the family here in burnt sienna. I have burnt sienna extra dark. I got the burnt sienna shade, and I got burnt sienna core all in here. So with those, if I did a whole piece in here and I got burnt sienna light. So if you do the whole piece in there, you're going to have a really flat piece. Even if you put red cheeks on it, you're like, oh, I got my color in there. But you can discover this by trying to do it on your own. And you will see that, you're kind of doing more monochromatic work with the face. But you want to put in some colors to really bring out like the skin tones and the fleshness and all of that. And what I'm discovering is, mixing some of the red iron oxide or some of the reds. We usually only had the red iron oxide and the red. We didn't have all the pinks and all the flesh tones until now. So they are something you can mix, but they were a little bit challenging along the way. So this is a red iron oxide, which is a really beautiful peach. So you can see how mixing that in is going to bring a little more warmth to your skin tone, and you're going to break up the monotony of what you have right there. So I also sometimes like bringing in some oranges and some yellows and things like it. Depends what I'm working with. But the big one I like to do is the shadow, and that is where I'll take burnt sienna and burnt sienna extra dark, and I'll put, magenta extra dark and burnt sienna. And that makes a really beautiful dark skin tone. So you can add a little bit more burnt sienna to that, and it'll flesh that out a little bit. But that's what you're going to see me using in a lot of my shadows. So if you look on her face, I have a lot of that where any of these shadows would go. And I can push and pull those. People will use greens. You can do a cool green. You can do warm green. Things like that. They work those. They work a lot of like lavenders into a portrait piece. So for instance, if I use this magenta extra dark and I want to bring it up, but I don't want it to have as much saturation as a violet. I want to mute it a little bit. You can mute it by putting some white in the extra dark. So when you have the white in there, it'll bring it more into a muted magenta. Now, if I would bring up the magenta, it wouldn't be as muted. I can also bring and put dark black back into it, and it's going to mute that out. So then you get a little bit more of a muted version of that. So depending on wherever you're at, like if I would take the burnt sienna extra dark and I add a little bit of white to that. I'm also going to get a muted, lighter version of that because I want to bring it up into values, but I don't want it to be so vibrant. So that's going to mute this out and make it more of a secondary type neutral. So if you want something to be a little bit more neutralized, you can take a dark color of the extra darks and bring it up with a white, and you're going to get a more neutral, dull version of that. So when you're working with the skin tones, these are some techniques that can really help you, along the way to really think about, well, what color skin tone are you working with? If you have a darker skin tone, I would stay in the burnt sienna darks with the magentas, and then you can work with that skin tone. So you can bring in oranges and other colors, in certain areas to bring in interest, but you just don't want to work, at least I'm not going into fine art, portraiture, very traditional, very academic is not where I really want to go. I'm not trying to make a portrait of my husband, my kid, or my sister, or anything like that. So that is something you have to figure out on your journey, what you love and where you're wanting to go with that. I love kind of making it look a little more painterly. Sometimes I want to blend it out. Sometimes I want to add, mark making to the face. Love to do pencils. I've loved to add on pastel sticks. That's a lot of fun too. So it's just taking yourself on the journey and practicing with these different skin tones to match what you're trying to accomplish. So if you really think of it, most of it's all in values. So you're just trying to figure out where you are on the value scale with this color. And that is why this really helps out. So if you make a value study of what you're trying to do, I can see that where I want these values to go, and I can go and try to match up the color. Now, if I have a hard time seeing the color, I mean, I'm not always perfect with it either. I can turn this into black and white on my camera, take a photo of it, and you can go and match up, well, what values are all of these at? So I could see, well, this burnt sienna is probably in more of a 6 range or a 7. So, I know this is probably around a 7 or an 8. It's just, where is that going to line up? It probably is more of a 6 or a 7. So you're just trying to understand value is almost just as important as what colors you're putting on there. So the values really play a big role in the whole journey. Okay, I'm going to catch up on chat here. Yeah, I'm glad that Stacy was able to pop in. Hey, we got a big group here, 39 of you. Welcome. Feel free to say hi. Don't be shy. Love to hear from you. That's what these lives are all about. And feel free to ask questions. That's what we're here for. Francine says, truly a great community, new and old alike. Oh, I love you guys. You're amazing. Let's see. So everyone, so Stacy's already popped out. All right. Well, so glad that she was here. Michelle, thanks for cheering everyone on. Really appreciate that. You guys, it's a free way to support my channel. It's just liking the video and even commenting on all my videos really helps. I've also turned off monetization during, I'm fixing my rag here, but during the live, so you shouldn't be getting any commercials. So that should make things a little bit nicer. And I think I'm gonna go in and do something, I'm gonna work with a little bit of the skin tones, and I'll play with a little bit. I do want to bring down this hair a little bit, so I'm going to show you guys how I can make a change. And I might just even use my shadow pencil to kind of play with that hairline a little bit. And then what I would do is just, erase it down a little bit. And I think I'll get rid of the line in between because I want it to be more, I don't want it to look like the shape of the head. Teresa's here. Welcome, Teresa. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you came and commented. That's your first time commenting in chat. That's so much nice. Okay, Karen's a fan of the no commercials. Glad that you appreciate that. So I'm just going to go in here with my red. I actually used a red shade with this spot. So I'm just going to pop my red shade up here. It's just easier. I can mix it, but I just have it. So I'm just going to bring this in. And I'll be able to take like pencils and add some hair, you know, vibes with the whole thing. I just want to break up this forehead a little bit. So you can see how easy it is to make a change in this amazing PanPastel medium. A lot of it has to do with your paper. This paper does take a lot of layering, like I've discussed. And I'll be able to go in here when I get things a little bit more defined and play with the hair and get that a little bit more defined of how I want. So I got the face up to quite a bit of a spot where I'm happy with it, but I have to work on putting some of these other colors in to balance out the face. I think it would be a lot of fun to put the waterfall in while you guys are here. I'll do that, and I also want to get some of these flowers in and everything. Dawn, your instruction on value has helped me loads, even in my watercolor pieces. Truly grateful for all your tips. Well, thank you so much. That's what I'm trying to empower you guys to be inspired to show up. That's my goal here. And to really demystify pastel, because soft pastel has a lot of like worry and how, you know, is it going to smear? Is it going to smudge off the page? And this is really durable. I mean, I can rub this. Look, I'm touching the whole thing. It comes off my finger, but my whole piece isn't ruined. So, but all of these color pieces do need to be framed behind glass. So they are needing to be framed. Patricia says, hey Dawn, I love this one. I'm loving your skin tone conversation. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Debbie's gotten her vanish erasers. That's awesome. I love the vanish erasers. For those, I think I have one back here. Yeah, these are my favorite erasers. I use these to do all my changes like you just saw. And I can cut them up into different sizes and shapes and do different things to them. I have a link below that goes to Merry Artist, and I've partnered up with them. It's an affiliate link. I work with them, and if you click the link below, it takes you to my favorite supply page, and you can just check it out if you want. If you end up using my coupon code, which is DawnVS, you get an additional 10% off. So that's including pastels and everything. Now, all the new colors are still back ordered. I've called Sally over there, and they are working on getting all those orders filled that they've taken. And so for the new colors and all that, you can eventually, you'll be able to buy those if you're interested, but they have all the PanPastels. And I also talked to them about carrying both the ivory paper in the 600 grade for UArt and the black paper 600 grade in UArt. And they're gonna start carrying the 12 by 18 sheets. So what my goal is that you can go over there and fill up everything you need and not have to go somewhere else. So you'll be able to get the free shipping and things like that. I also talked to them about my favorite Pitt pencils. They are going to start carrying all of those. So I'll be able to put those on my page. And then all of my, they're going to carry the Caran d'Ache line pencils. So I've talked to them about ordering that. So that's really exciting. I also special ordered a roll of 600 through them. They are amazing. I usually buy a roll every few years, and that roll lasts me forever, and I cut out my sheets and I mount them and all of that. So let's see. Okay. Oh, they do smell. You can take them and put them outside overnight or something and let them air off, let them off. They are a little off gassy, I will admit. So, but I do love them. I haven't found anything that's been better than them. So, okay. Okay, Francine says all of her new colors arrived today, and that is exciting. Sally is the best at Merry Artists. I love her. Her and Dan are who I've talked to, and they are the nicest people over there. You can always call them. Don't ever feel like you can't give them a call. They are just so nice there. So I am a good enabler, Debbie. Yeah, I'm glad your wait is over, Francine. Well, being able to save the extra 10% is really, really nice. Oh, these are exciting new additions to the Merry Artists. I love ordering more products from them. They're great. That's awesome. Well, congrats, Francine. Okay, you guys ready for a waterfall? I don't know. I love doing the waterfalls. So that's probably one of my favorites. So I saved that for the live. And we are going to go in and I got to clean off my white. So I personally just wipe it off. Sometimes I'll just use a paper towel, like I can't use a paper towel. It's too rough. Like a Kleenex or a cotton ball, and I'll wipe them off, or I just do that. So my mic is feeling my mic thing, so I'm fixing that. Okay, so I'm gonna do the waterfall here. Now, the waterfall is all about value, and you can just use white. I also like using the raw sienna. Let me put this over here. I like the raw sienna light, not the light, but the tint, because what that does is it allows you're not going all the way up on the value scale. But for this, I'm gonna just use the white, and I have a lighter wand here. Now I'm gonna load the edge of the wand. See that? And that's gonna give me all types of, abilities here. So when I'm doing a waterfall or anything like that, I can make these lines go down. And that's what I'm, using the edge of the tool. So it's really good to practice with the edge of the tool because you get so many, different ranges of what you can do with the tool. So here we go. Now the waterfalls, they have a lot more white up at the top here. So wherever you touch down first is going to be your brightest. So I'll kind of get that established here because our waterfall is a happy little waterfall and it's going to have a little bit of spray right here. And so we got to get that in there a little bit, and then we just got to stay confident with ourselves and go, it's going to be okay. We can't ruin it. We can't ruin it. So I didn't put any color under this. A lot of times I'll have my painting all the way done and then I'll put a waterfall in. So this is a little bonus, and we're going to carry that waterfall down and start bringing it in. So we're just going to start bringing that water in. And my goal is to, I have a little bit of black under here, so I'm going to erase some of that so it doesn't mix into my wand. So see the wand, how that black hit that? And that's okay. I just wipe it off, but and it's going to hit some of the red that's in there, and I'll just wipe it off. So the biggest thing is just keeping your hands straight, like not going off and going this way and going that way. Yeah, they are really fast shipping. They're the fastest shipping artist store out there, and they also care about their shipping. Like they pad everything. I don't have any broken pastels with them. They double pack. It's the best shipping I've ever found. Sally and I were actually talking about that. And yeah, they have really great shipping. Okay. Yeah, facial tissue is what I use too, Debbie. Yeah, they ship out so quickly. Louise says, my sister and I were deciding to order the new colors and have them sit at my husband's shipping, as it sounds like they won't make it down here for months. UK due to September, New Zealand way off. But yeah, that's true. Louise says, much cheaper over there too, to what they'll have here. $800 New Zealand dollar. Oh, wow, that's really expensive. Okay, so we got our waterfall going. Now, I don't have anything on my wand, and I'm gonna just try to hit some of the solid. I don't want to get rid of all that black in between, because if you want to have some dark in there so your waterfall goes through value-wise, if I just sat there and said, I'm coloring my waterfall, it's not going to look as true. And I don't have to have the end all worked out here, but this is where I could smooth it down a little bit because it's going to be more of a spray. And then I just go back in again. Now I've bumped those down, and so now I'm going to go in, and I've been really itching to do the waterfall, so I'm excited about that. And I'm gonna, wherever I'm gonna hit first is gonna be the brightest. So I might just get, whoops, went off on a little bit there, but that's okay. Have to tap that off a little bit. And then I'll go up here and I'll blend in this a little bit to make it look more natural, like it's gonna go in and cascade down. So we're gonna take that white, and that's blending into our brighter color there, and then see how that just turned into a smooth transition to where it starts going white, and it just really makes it look more realistic. So I love doing the waterfalls. I have a little green bush here that needs to be brought in. And then I can work on that little division between the two. So I'm going to bring in my green bushes. Man, I thought there'd be more excitement about the waterfall, folks. I'm not going to lie. Just kidding. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is crazy about the different price difference when you live all over the world. I think that that is one of the biggest challenges. I wish they had better prices for you Aussies in New Zealand. Okay. So right here, I'm going to keep this black because I want to have that kind of be a fun little addition. I'm going to look back here. And so that value of the waterfall is something I'm going to play with. And there we go. There we go. Thank you. I needed a little bit of kudos for my waterfall. Yes, that you don't, there's blue up here, but when you think about a waterfall, like what I'll do is when I have ideas, I'll go look at a whole bunch of images of waterfalls. And there's no color in the fall part. So you'll see that that is just studying what you're going to make will allow you to kind of make a little bit better choices when you're deciding what colors to use. So I'll collect a whole bunch of pictures of waterfalls, and they'll be in like my file system. So I'm just always building up my file system of inspiration and things like that. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Michelle. Oh, I guess we just paused in awe. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. We're all in awe. You guys are really sweet. Normally we're so chatty here. That's why I was like, what? I know there's a delay. There's like a 3-second delay with the live. So that's funny. Well, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Adrian, Louise, Susan, Michelle, Patricia, Karen. Oh, wait, Karen says, is there going to be a rainbow coming from the waterfall? Yeah, this is going to be a rainbow right here. So everything, when they're at this stage, it's not a finished, this is not all finished. This is more of a blocking in stage. So I don't have everything blocked in yet. And so yeah, I still have to work on the the rainbow. I want to work on the face a little bit more while you guys are here. And I'm trying to grab my tint color that I just pulled out and then decided not to use it because I have to use this, the raw umber tint. Sometimes I'll use this instead of white. I don't need the white, but it's also nice to have. So I'm just going to start laying in my little petals, and my wand has some green in it, so I'm going to grab a different wand that's a little bit lighter. I might just get a new wand here. I have this one that's kind of old, and I have a few, well, normally I have my package around that with new wands ready, so I'm going to grab that really quick. Sorry guys. Here they are. I go through a lot of soft tools. So these are my favorite. The ovals are my favorite. But when you're dealing with whites, you definitely want to have a new wand. So I got my new wand here. This is my favorite one, as I got it dirty with all my fingers, but that's not that bad. So wherever I touch down first is where I think about where my highlight is on the flower petal. And I'll hit that down first all around, and then I'll blend it in a little bit, and that will allow you to use the paper and not have to, you know, use multiple colors. So we're using the paper to our advantage here. Or I can take it, blend it all down, and then add another little highlight on the top. That looks like what I'm going to do here. So I want all these little daisies in here. And I'm okay with that. The other thing is when you're using white, there's the black support framework that I have on here, and that will mix in, and that'll already shade out the white. So I want that to shade out. I'm not trying to keep it pure because the black, I'm working with the black, not against the black. So even if I have a fresh wand, that's okay because we're working on all the same thing. So now when I go put that flower in, I can hit it again with my white, and then that's going to give me my highlight. Oh, I almost stumbled into that one. And so we can just go in here, and then that's going to give me my different gradation of values. Now, if I was being real literal, this flower would probably be a lot darker because it's over in the darker area, but we're doing kind of a fantasy imagination, so I'm just going with it. But you can see how I've just built up those colors right there. Jen says she's busy painting. That's what's going on. Well, I'm glad that you're painting while you're on here. That's awesome. Debbie was hyper-focused. Jen, I painted while talking to my sister on the phone, and it didn't go so great. That's funny. Michelle says she's slightly distracted. You put your eagle painting on the official Eagle site, and it pretty much went viral. 6,944 reactions, and has had close comments, and had as close to comments straight away during the people trying to buy it. Oh, well, where did you go put it? On the official Eagle site? Like, they have a website there and you're able to post pictures? That's really cool. Well, you know, you tapped into something, Michelle. You need to have a little bidding more for it. That's awesome. Congratulations to you. Yeah, Karen, you know me. There's going to be a rainbow somewhere for sure. Oh, that's interesting that it reminds you of Ivy. I just talked to her. We talk back and forth on a thing called Voxer. I was just talking with her. We talk daily. Even though she's in Portugal, we still chat. So that's really sweet. She's been a lot on my mind lately. FOBBV official. Well, interesting. I'll screenshot that and check it out. Congrats to you. Okay, so I have some of the petals in here. I'm going to do a few more and then get them worked in because I want the daisies to be, and I'll just do a few of them and then I'll move on to another thing. I'm thinking about, I have to get some of these colors on before I do too much more to the face, but And then we got all these over here. So most of our light source is coming from here, and I want to pull that, you know, but there's also ambient lighting that I'm working with. So I'm being a little creative with that. And this is really good practice with your wand. You need to get good practice with that. So I'm okay with it mixing in with the black line. That's fine. See how it turns gray there? And you can use that tip and it can get into all those tiny little spots. So then I just go back on again and I can get those highlights in there. Okay, now I'm thinking about the center. I'm gonna do like, I had an orange shade. I can mix it by adding black to orange, but I'm gonna put orange shade in there. And I can also put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. I usually like to have multiple colors. There, now we got all these guys. We have these down here. I can just tap into here. So these are going to be in the light for these little flowers down here. Okay. So I'm trying to think of what I want to work on next. Maybe I have you guys vote. So I have the foliage and I have the rainbow to work on, but we have some time here. I might be able to get it all blocked in today. And then I'm thinking if I can get all this in, then I can end with a little bit more on the face. So I just need to get a little bit more of this brought up and then I'll be able to work on it. Do the leaves. Yes, I'll play with those too. Big Bear, Bald Eagle, Jackie, and Shadow, FOBBV official group. Okay. We'll have to check that out. That's awesome. I'm so stoked for you. Oh, welcome, Ari. I'm glad that you're here. Oh, wow, she says. That's so exciting, Michelle. It's such a beautiful piece. You did such a great job. And Michelle has been showing up. She creates consistently. You've done many of the lessons. And I'm super proud of you. I think showing up is 90% of it, and you really have been doing the work. So it pays off, you know, and I think that's one of the first pieces you shared that was kind of your own idea, your own, you know, composition. You did it all, you know, you've done a few, not a whole lot, but that one was the first that really stuck out to me that I felt like was really you. I know you've done a few. I'm not saying this was your first one, but I think you know what I mean. So that's awesome. Okay, we got rainbow. We're going to do it all. Yeah, that's really sad that they lost one of the eaglets. So I'm going to go in here with my rainbow and I'm just going to start bringing in. And I think I'm going to go brighter instead of darker on that one. So I'm just going to use magenta and just start laying it in. Of course I used my light wand. That wasn't my plan, so I can just switch it out if that's the end of, you know, whatever. And I'm not trying to make all of my decisions right here. This is what I call blocking in. So I'm just blocking in and getting things situated. I think I'm going to go more with the bright yellow green in here because that I got to keep it separate a little bit, and I'll figure that out. I can always put a different green up against it, like that one's pretty close, but that's fine. I always end up merging things together anyway. And then I'll go in here with my burnt sienna as my orange, and I can bring orange in with it. I don't think I'm going to go all yellow on this. I can put a little bit of the yellow just in the center of it. I guess I could have gone a little thicker on the lines, but I could put, I'm not going to have blue in there. I could have done blue in between the two. It's fine. We don't need to overthink the rainbow dawn. And then I can bring in with my red. It doesn't have to be perfect. I will even out some of those. Okay, and then I can bring some of the yellow in. I feel like I need to make this a violet. So I'm going to take the magenta and the blue and make this into a violet right here. That's the same, we'll do that with the turquoise. Maybe I'll bump it up a little bit. I can't believe I've already got this wand torn up. So I could have done multiple more of them, but it's fine. I keep telling myself it's fine. Well, I've already got this wand. So when I'm live, I'm heavier on my wands, and it's really annoying, but it's just how it is. So I can go in here. I can even use some of the I have this red. Red is the red light. This is the red light. This is, you can mix it with the white and the red, but I find that is one of the biggest changes with the new colors is having this already made. So I can go in here and have this. All right, so I feel like I got that in there pretty good. Now, when I get this in here, later I'll come back and I will take the black lines away as much as I can. Like right here, I can tap in some blue because those black lines, that's what I'm gonna go back and forth with, is I don't want them to be in the light because that's just not realistic, you know, there's none of that. And then I can clean up the edges and things like that. So see how hard this black line is? Like I will take that like with the bright yellow green. I know that's right by the rainbow, and I can spend time burying that, but see I'm also bringing up the light. So I'm loading the different sides of wands here, and then I can bring that light in. And you can see how we're bringing the light. So then I can bring the light in. When I know that this is my light source, I'm loading the other side with the bright yellow green, and then I can hit that side of the trees. And the drawing is there to be a guide. It's not, we're not trying to color by number, you know, like we're just using it as a guide so we can have the confidence to make some of these decisions without feeling so overwhelmed. And so then I can start bringing these greens up, and the scenery, bringing the light into the greens. So see how the light's starting to come in? So wherever that light, we can mix it up with the other green here. Now this green, I can mix this by using the phthalo and the diarylide, and I'll get the blue-green blue-green shade, but it would be blue-green kind of vibe. And you can mix up your greens a little bit. And then you can just like have these subtle, you know, vibes of a landscape that are really fun and imaginative. And you don't, you know, you get to make up your own, you know, vibe and rules along the way. But you can see how you got to build up some of the layers and then all of a sudden you're bringing the light in that way. All right. Oh, Nichelle's here. Hey, my sister-in-law. That's my sister-in-law, you guys. Nichelle's in the house. She's late, but finally here. She's loving the waterfall. Her eyes are so peaceful and happy. Happy Tuesday, Dawn's Pastel family. Oh, I'm so glad that you're here, Nichelle. That's awesome. Can't wait to see you this weekend. They're going to come visit. I hope you know that. No, I'm just kidding. Did you know you're coming to visit me this weekend? Oh my gosh. I got to get you in on that group chat. Let's see. Well, I said hi to Ari. Ari's, or Audie. Oh, Ari. Yeah, the group that you're doing the autocorrect can really get you. Okay, I'm going to stand back here. I got my rainbow in. Feeling like she's getting a little more balanced out. And I'll be able to bring some of those colors into her face. Like even some of the violets and some of the reds to kind of even out that a little bit. So we're going to work on blocking in some of these foliage down here. I can't wait to see you either. It's been a while. We, Nichelle and my brother, they live about, God, is it 4 hours away? Well, with you guys driving, it's like 3.5. But for me, it takes 4 hours. And so it's been a while since I've seen them. So I'm excited that they're coming. So I'm going to go in here now. The thing with the foliage is I don't want the foliage to be perfect. I want the foliage to be in the foreground, to kind of be like how you're looking into a landscape. I did something similar with the landscape lesson that I did a couple weeks ago. And we're not trying to get fussy with it. We just want to use multiple colors from the piece to bring in some color harmony. And some of the holes and stuff, I'll put in maybe some more skin tones. But the greenery, you know, I'm just going to go in and start laying down some color. I'm going to do a color throwdown here with some of these greens, and we'll just get these colors in. And like I said, they don't have to be perfect. So I want to change up the colors. And I'm going to bring in some cools. That is really bright though, so I'm going to tone that down with a little bit of black. No, that ended up being a lot of black. So that's the thing about mixing on. Sometimes it's a hit or miss. So I'll just mix that around and then add another layer on it. So I can take this phthalo green, and the other thing to do to darken it is to use some burnt sienna extra dark. And that will put it into a little bit more of like an army green vibe. And I really love working with those two colors. Now, when you're talking about colors, temperature really has a lot to do with how you're creating a visual for the eye. To be something in the sunlight, you would want to go more yellow and warm greens, like a yellow green. And in the shadow areas, you want to do more of cool greens, like teals and, you know, deep turquoises and stuff like that. You want to put those greens more into the shadows. And that's, I'm going to just go with I'll show you guys. I have a phthalo green extra dark and the phthalo green shade. So sometimes I think the phthalo green is just a little too bright. So let's see how this one feels. That's still a little dark, so I'll do a 3 stack. And then we'll see how this feels. So that's more into the range what I was thinking, and then I could mix in some of the brown with it. But I want there to be different greens in here. I don't want them to be all the same. So I'm going to go and mix and match and mix and match because I want there to be diversity. I'll put some magentas in here. Now that magenta is really going to match up with the face, the shadows we have in there. And you can also do the magenta with the green. And that's going to give a real, you know, bluish turquoise. Almost like a violet. 4 hours. Yeah, I thought so. I don't know. I think you guys said 3 with you driving. Oh my gosh. So I'm just going in. My favorite color is the bright yellow green. And I try to change it up a bit. I also have the permanent green. And when I do the permanent green, like the shade is another really pretty green. And I can stack this on top. So, you know, I'm showing you a lot of different colors, but you know, you got to use what you have. But you can mix that into, and that's a really pretty cool green. But that's pretty bright too. So if I go, when you're dealing with trying to figure out your values in certain areas, I can just put that permanent green extra dark on, and that will hit my values back a little bit darker. But look how bright it still is. So if I know I'm doing a lot of something, I don't necessarily want to mix it every time. Can you see that? Like if I had to mix this every time, then I would be, you know, it takes a little bit longer. It's definitely doable. So I'm trying to get all my greens in because then I'm going to pop some skin tones in behind, you know, some browns and things like that. Oh, hi Trisha, welcome. Oh, that's okay. I'm so glad that you made it. Anytime's a good time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If I've already mentioned it, I'll tell you that you can rewatch, but for the most part, we're just laying down and blocking in our colors. And this is this week's Pastel Insider lesson. You're getting a peek of it. So I will say getting all this stuff blocked in, that is a journey, but a lot of the magic happens in the next few layers. The layering is the key. It's the big magic part. And a lot of people be like, oh, I got that all figured out. But if you watched many lessons from me, you can see how much doing the layering can really change a piece. Question. Oh, we got a question. Yes, cool green in the shadows. Now, I don't totally go by that by law, but it definitely is a rule of thumb to do more cool green. So you can see down here, these are all cooler. And then I can also harmonize these by putting some of this in the trees. So that's going to harmonize, and the warmer greens are going to be all right here. Now I'm going to have some sunlight hitting right here and maybe the tips, so I might hit those with, I got a little bit, you know, warmer green in there. But it's pretty amazing how bright the extra dark still is. I'm mixing it with both here, the bright yellow green and this, but I just want some diversity. Oh, I have another question. I'm having a hard time getting the dark UArt paper here in Ontario. I do have a roll of the light 600 coming. Oh wow, you got the roll. I just ordered a roll too. What would you recommend for painting on this? Okay, blah, blah, blah. What would you recommend for painting this on the lighter paper? Oh, like if you want to make the lighter paper dark? I was thinking about doing a demo of that, of making the light paper dark. And what I would do is take a one of these soft tools like this, like one of these soft tools, and I would put a light color. You'd probably get a little bit more of a grayish dark, but I'd probably put a few, like 1 or 2 layers of the dark pastel on there. And if you fill it up too much, that's not going to be good. So you don't want to put it real heavy. And then I would spray it with a pastel fixative, not a fixative, just any old fixative. You got to use pastel. And then that will fix it to the bottom layer where it's not going to pull up as much. And then I would try that. Now I thought of demoing that. I haven't really played with that, but that is something I thought about doing. But that is a bummer you're having a hard time getting the dark, because that's what I would definitely want my roll in. Gosh, you know, it's just hard that we wish we could call like Mary Artist does not ship outside the US. So that's one of the hard things. So I'm putting some black in here to darken some of this cooler. So they're not so bright. I feel like I've touched almost all of them. And the thing is, another layer is going to go on these. This is just the blocking in stage. And as you can see, I'm not trying to make them all perfect. I'm not super tight. I'm not like all up in that. Now, the shadow of her is definitely farther back because that's where her neck is. So when you look at her neck, if you were working with that, then you would be like, hey, well, that is farther into the planes of existence. So her neck is back here, and then the flowers are going to be down lower, so those are going to be darker. But I'm going to have a few that are up here that are going to hit the sunlight from all of this going on up here. Let's see. That's amazing. Thank you. Even the light is harder to find. So when I found the roll, I just went with it. I'm just glad you got the 600 grade. I will try the fixative. Do you have a brand? Yeah, I would use a Selenier pastel fixative. It goes for a while. I don't do a lot of fixative, but on lower layers like that. Like here's for instance, like I want to do an underpainting. You know, you can also use, well, you don't really want to use wet media, because even though that paper takes wet media, it will buckle if you put a heavy layer of wet media on it. So I have used some inks, but some inks will fill the tooth. I don't remember which one I found that didn't. I think most of them did. The other thing, so the buckling is what I didn't want to navigate. So like for instance, I want to do a painting. I'm going to do one of these for lessons where I do an underpainting of like this bright orangey red down underneath. So then I would do a couple really light layers of that, and in between each layer, spray the fixative down, and then buff that on and then spray it down, because it will knock it back into the tooth. So to do an underpainting of a different color, PanPastel is used for underpaintings all the time, but you just don't want to overfill it, and you want to test it out. Do it on a small piece first. Don't do it on like, oh, I've decided to do this lesson and I'm going to go do it, and then you spend all the time of transferring your image, you get everything drawn up, and then you realize it doesn't work. So do it on something small, highly suggest. And so I'm going to take some skin tones, and I'm going to play with some skin tones here. I wanted to dapple a little bit of that into this session, and so I'm going to bring some of this in where the neck is. So for that, we have a lot of colors here. Let me freshen up the palette. I think I got most of my darks in here. All right. So when I'm working with a skin tone down here, it's going to be darker because we're in the shadow. So with that, I want to work with, you know, like say the burnt sienna. And I can add a little bit of the tint in there because I don't know how high, I mean, I want the burnt sienna, but I don't want all the saturation. So I'm going to use a darker burnt sienna and bring it up with the tint. I can use white with that, but that will neutralize it and not have it be so vibrant. I don't want it to be vibrant because we are down in the light. So with that, I can rotate, you know, skin tones are not that difficult, especially if we're sticking with the burnt sienna. So imagine if I thought, well, maybe just a hint of light might be on this part. I can just bring in that tint, I mean the light, the burnt sienna light, and I can bring that light in a little bit. Now, I might evaluate this and go, okay, that's too light right there. Is that going to be really hitting right there? I'm not sure, but you can see that just because I brought that up, it's going to make this back here even darker. So I can still mix in, you know, some of the other colors. But for her, I probably went the most traditional for a color palette than I usually do. I really wanted it to feel approachable. And sometimes when I do my funky eyes and really out there things, it doesn't resonate as well. So I'm going to go into my red iron oxide and just bring a little bit of reddish color in there where I had that light, and that will bring that light out a little bit. And what that's doing is it's bringing her throat out a little bit further, so I don't know if that's going to be too far. So now I'm going to go in with just the burnt sienna shade, and I can go into some of the skin where I'm going to just start abstracting this out. So this does not have to be a perfect representation of skin right here. So I can go into the shadow with the skin, with put some of the magenta and the burnt sienna extra dark, both of those in here. And I can hit those with some black too to really push them back because we have it pretty dark right here. So I can do a little bit of both and push that back. But you can see how that's still relating to the skin. So it's just values that you want to work with. That's the big key into the skin tones. So I have a little bit, this is pretty dark. I can kind of break this up a little bit. So let's bring in some of the shade. And then I can blend this out a bit, knock it down as I'm looking through my monitor that's 2 feet below me today. Oh, is Laura leaving? Oh, you go take care of yourself, Laura. I hope you feel better soon. I've seen black gouache used to darken the paper. So, Chrisella, I think it's a great idea, but black gouache. Oh, wait. Gouache, not gesso. So I've seen Jason Morgan use black gouache. It is a water media, so you're navigating that. He puts it on very specific. He puts it into his blacks that he, you know, isn't probably going to be doing a ton of layering on. So you can definitely try that, but I would really try doing the black PanPastel and rubbing it in and knocking it down with a fixative. Try both and see what works for you. But just like I said, do it on a small piece, play around with it, try the pencils on it, try all of you layering. Even if you're not making anything, do that exploration. Like gesso really changes the tooth of the paper. You don't want to put anything like that on there. So I haven't used gouache on this paper. I've just seen someone like Jason Morgan. He's an amazing wildlife artist. If you're into wildlife, he's definitely a go-to. So he's amazing. And I definitely love supporting other artists because I've watched some of his videos on my journey. Okay, so I want this to be like a hint of skin in here. I don't want it to feel like that's distracting and bringing it away. I mean, I don't want her to feel like she's naked in the forest. You know, we gotta play around with this a little bit. So being the first layers, we're going to be able to put other layers over this and play around with it. So I still have a few here that are not fully thing. So what I talk about layering that I can do here is, you know, I have this pencil here. I can even put like grass, you know, That's a very bold grass piece right there. But you can see how I can bring up some foliage. You know, there's so much we can do that's fun. And then what's really cool is once I get this in here, I can take something like this and I can knock down and even blur parts of it. So let's say if this was too bold, I can knock it down, blur it back a little bit. And so there's a lot of possibilities here. We're trying to just, you know, get a subtle vibe that there is, you know, foliage and everything. But see how I can knock this all down and then I can go over it with some more color. And that's going to make it look a little bit more subtle and a little bit blurred, which I kind of like that. And it also takes the black pencil and actually fills in the gaps into some of those gaps that I have. And then when I go put my next layer on, that's going to be kind of fun. So you're just playing with the different layers. There's no mistakes. Just have some fun and try and explore. Like we can figure some, you know, talk things out, but a lot of it's doing and just actionating and just kind of seeing what works for you. So I have this spot right here that, there we go. So I'm going to pop in these little flowers here. And I think that's going to really help the light. Now I want these guys to be pretty bright because these are going to be in the sunlight. And I'll show you because I've muted this out down here, and that is what we're going to do is now it's like taking a camera and using that Gaussian blur to blur out the background. That's what we're kind of doing here, but it's a little bit in the foreground. So it takes the detail away from the eye a little bit more. So I'm just patiently getting those in there. Oh, good, Francine. Well, I'm excited. I hope you'll try this one out. I know you and Luis are huge into the figurative. Let's see, Jen, I would like to see that demo. Did I miss that? Oh, you want to see the demo of the paper? Well, I can do that. I can try to do that on the on one of these times here. Because I really want to do a piece with like that bright color, like I said, the bright pinks. And I want that to be my underpainting. So what you're creating is basically an underpainting. And the underpainting is, it pops through, it shows through. And so with that, you can create all kinds of effects, because that's why I like working with the dark paper, is that all of the darks can peek through, and I'm pretty happy with that. Like, I don't mind that. But when I'm on the cream paper, all the creams are poking through, and then I'm battling the cream paper. So we're going to make these guys a little bit brighter. I'm getting them in here. And so all of this stage is basically blocking in, and I call it color mapping. I don't know if it's the right term for it, but I like to get all my colors mapped in. So before I bring up the face and do any more detail work in that, I have to get the rest of the piece in to a certain degree. And that really shows my values of where they're at. How is that all working together? So I'm always fascinated with expressing our connection with the earth. I think that's where these ladies come from, is just showing the interconnectivity of us and nature and just the world around us. So that's what inspires these pieces. Okay, now white always sheds a little more than any of the other colors, and I can go in here with pencils and play with that too down the road. So those are pretty bright. And I'm going to play with the light with those. So I have like this is the 585, I think it is. And that is the olive green. And I'm just going to put those stems in here. Now I had stem, let me see. I think this one went down this way. And then we get those stems kind of pulled forward a little bit. So I can play with that and push them back and pull them forward. And then I can play with the light here that these things are that they're in light. So they're going to go more of a yellow green. And then I can come back with pencils and layer on that too. So with that, I might take these and bring up the centers a little bit. And I'll definitely be playing with the light. I don't know, I might end up pushing it back. These might be too distracting, but this is also in a focal point. So this is a focal point, this is a one, this is one, and then this is one, but they're really subtly being used to a certain degree. So that's how I'm thinking when I work and when I design. Okay, so I feel like I got all the flowers and the foliage, all of that kind of in there to where I'm feeling pretty good, and I can kind of start balancing things out a little bit. So I'm trying to think about what, I'm going to take a drink and look back here, what I want to maybe add. And I think I'm going to start working on integrating the face a little bit, and that might take a little bit of give and take. So I might work with this cheek and show you what I'm thinking. So I have the red, and I really want this to merge into the face, and that's just kind of my jam. It takes a little bit because I got to play with the value. So I'm going to go to the red iron oxide light, and that's going to help me with this transition. Now, I don't have to use red light, because what that's going to do is, if you're thinking about skin tones, and we're going to be talking more about those today, is if I use this one, I'll lay it down and show you the difference. So this one is a lot more like a bubblegum pink. Now on the monitor, you're not seeing it as close as I would like it to be, because it is a little bit desaturated. I really thought I got my colors spot on here. I know these ones aren't as close over here, but certain colors seem to be reacting different to the camera. Like these ones are really spot on. But this one right here is a more of a warmer. This one's showing almost pretty true. This one's more of a bubble gum, so it's cooler. So this one's warmer. So if I want to work with a warmer cheek, the red, if I bring this red up in value, it's going to go cooler. But I also want the red to go back and forth. So I can use red iron oxide, but that's also strong. So I'm kind of dancing in between the colors. Let's see here, if that made any sense. But I think you can see that this is a cooler and this is going to be warmer. So to get this off, I can just erase it. And then I can put this section back in. This is what I love about this paper. Look, she's not going to wipe away, guys. Like, I can rub my finger on there. Yeah, I'll get some on my finger, but it's still all there. So I can go in and bring this back by using my burnt sienna. And then I'm going to be bringing that cheek in anyway, so I might as well just do both. So I'm going to go do the red iron oxide and then bring in some of the red. Now, this is something that's taken years to develop, is you kind of get where your style starts showing itself. And there's certain things that I've done over and over and over again, and this is one of them, where I start blending things into the figures, And that's just something I really like to do. So I'll play with it. If I end up going back and forth on it, then I will, but it's just something I really enjoy. So I didn't put a lot of crazy things into the face. I didn't put a lot of what I normally do, like I'll put some foliage in the face, those types of things. But now I have to just play with that shadow because that can be a little tricky. So I can go in between the burnt sienna light and bring up my value, and that's going to be a little bit less saturated than the red iron oxide. So I'm having to go back and forth because when you touch something, I'm wiping off my wand, it will bring up the things below. And so you have to go back and forth and blend. So you can see how I'm blending that out and kind of bringing them together. So I'm going to do that a little bit more over here. And then what this will make me do is start putting some of these skin tones into the rest of the face. So you can see how up here, I'm going to harmonize that, and then I'm also going to harmonize it down there. And then that starts creating, a little bit more color harmony throughout the skin tone. So you can see how that's already connected the background into the face a little bit more. And we'll see if I end up sticking with it. I mean, when I do all this stuff, I know there's a possibility of making changes. And that's just how I, explore. Like, nothing's precious. Like, this painting isn't precious to me. It's a journey, and I'm trying to enjoy the journey. So now I'm going to go tap into some of this burnt sienna light, which this is a new color. And I'm trying to, make it look painterly where I still see my brush strokes a little bit, but also create some transitions here. So I'm going to tap into my magenta. Maybe I hit the magenta a little bit lighter there. That's kind of a tough transition. I might rather put black in that and dull it down. There we go. And what that does is desaturates it. So we want that to be rounded there, but you can see how I got to play with that transition to kind of get it where I want it. So I'm mixing the red and the red iron oxide tint. So I'm trying to get these cheeks up to where I want them. And I might just sit with the cheeks being a little brighter for a while and bring up the rest of the piece and see how I feel about it. The cheeks can be where you're going back and forth. And I can also, I think, just going in between that light. So you can see why that light is really nice to have. So I would be mixing that between burnt sienna and then adding white to it. So it's really easy. I can go to burnt sienna. So actually what I've learned to do when you want to go lighter and keep a tone light, if you go in with your white first, then you've primed your wand with your white. And then you can go into your burnt sienna and not bring as much in. And so I'd be mixing that directly onto the piece. So if I knew I was going in here, then that's the burnt sienna light, and that's how I'm mixing it. So I'm thinking there's some light hitting right here, even though we have some shadow. So I'm just kind of trying to figure that balance out right there. And that's what I did kind of on my value study, is I wanted the cheeks to be a little lit, and then right there, and I have all my values in there, and see how I have the flowers up a little bit higher, and then I have my waterfall lighter. So all of those values are things I'm trying to work on. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I have to catch up on chat. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, here we are. Oh, good, Michelle. I'm glad you like that. I usually try to erase a few times in a session. I love the quote in this morning's email. I needed to hear that. We'll put that in my studio where I can see it. Oh, I'm so glad you like the quotes. I try to put some of those into the newsletters. Yeah, if you guys are new to the group here, I hope you'll join my newsletter. I also have where if you join the newsletter, you'll get a welcome newsletter, and that will give you a link to join my pastel my free pastel library, my soft pastel library. So I have a few free lessons in there. I'm redoing the mushroom one, but that should be out soon. And I have quite a few color mixing things in there. I have some of my black work in there, black and gold. And then I have a mixed media lesson in there. So you'll definitely get a array there. So if you just go to dawnvanderstoep.com, then you will be able to access that. So with noses and skin tones, is you want to put some reds in some of those spots, and that makes them look like, you know how you put like maybe like a light through the ear and then it looks pink and you can see it, and it gives kind of that flesh look to it. So I can use red iron oxide for some of that and just like hit some of the skin around the eyes and the nose and the lips, and then I can bring some of this the red in there too and just kind of hit it. And maybe I sit with that for a little while, but I usually like to put a little bit of that warmth around the eyes. And I can touch it around the edge here where that's going to go into the light. And so she's starting to kind of feel a little more connected to her background. So if you watch this and then come back, you'll see how bringing those colors in can really connect her. So I'm going to show you another easy color skin tone thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix the violet. I really like mixing it with the turquoise, but I'm going to show you on here. I think I showed you earlier the blue with the, it's a little bit different of a violet, but it's just not the same as the one I really like to mix. So I'm going to mix the one, that's why I usually keep turquoise in my palette, because it's my favorite. But I can also use violet if I had it. Like I have the violet light. That's kind of what I'm going after. Is so what I'm playing off of is the magenta extra dark, and the violet. You're playing with a cool violet and a warm violet. So I'm going to go and show you how I mix it. So I have my turquoise here, which is almost due to be replaced because it's getting pretty old. And if I use turquoise and magenta, I'm going to get violet. So with that thought, if you can stay with me on this one, we've used magenta throughout the piece. So that is harmonizing, the violet is harmonizing with that color choice. And that is how I rainbow out things, is, or that you're creating color harmony, is you're going to bring violet in. So I'm going to take this, mix it in here a little bit, and then I can put some of that throughout the piece here. And what that's going to do is going to balance out the skin tones and merge it into the actual piece here. So I can use the extra dark with the turquoise, and I'm going to get a little bit more muted of one too. So I can go in here and mix that in to some of these areas. And when I'm doing it, I can get rid of that black line as I'm mixing it in. So with that said, I can use this violet light in the new colors, knowing that, you know, you can mix that. It's pretty close. And then I have a consistent color that this is actually pretty light. So if I put both, the color I'm using is actually probably in between these. So I'm liking doing a lot more of this color mixing. I think the new colors is really kind of allowing us to really learn about our color system, what we have, and how much opportunity we have. So if I wanted, I could take the violet and some of this, and that's going to mute it out a little bit. Kind of tap that in. And I could go over it with a little bit of red to go back and forth. And I can also bring in some of the violet in some of the back of the trees. You're just trying to color harmonize. So this is definitely right here, some color harmonizing, and I can bring some of that in here too. These are a little bit closer to the warm, so I don't really want that one. I want to keep this in like the shadow areas. And then right here, I can tap some into the rainbow. And that will lighten that up as like the light's hitting it. Well, I don't know if I love that choice. I'm going to go back with the burnt sienna dark. Well, no, the burnt sienna light is what I'm using. I'm going to put that shadow back in there. So you can get an idea of how we've tapped in. We were very limited on how much we tapped in of the violet, but now her face is harmonized throughout the painting. And so now when I go on and do the next layering, then I'm going to get that harmony. And I really think it's nice to sit with some of your marks on the skin. So like I really love this mark right here and how it's more painterly, and some of the ones in the face. So sometimes you'll get so caught up in blending that you'll blend away something that can really make it look more painterly. Now, I'm always trying to lean towards more painterly, a little bit looser, a little bit more where you see your brush strokes, and I like that. And so that's something I'm trying to do more of. And I'm thinking like back here, just a little bit, a hint of that purple, a little violet, just to cool that off a little bit. So see how those your eye won't even really know what we did if someone just sees the piece for its first time, because of these subtle additions to the violet. Michelle says that color is so pretty. It really builds up character with a certain facial marks. Thank you, Michelle. We got a quiet group today for 38 people. You guys must just be in awe. You guys are quiet in chat today, which I'm totally fine with. I'm just, you know, I know some of you guys are doing other things too, but so I'm just trying to create a blend there. And so now I can start working on some of the layers and bringing some of these up. So I'm going to take these off. And I don't know what I'm going to list for the colors this week, because I've played with so many of them. It's kind of crazy. So then I can start cleaning up some things and playing with those too. So I'm going to show you with my black pencil what I'm going to do for adding some mark making and start shifting into some of that a little bit. I almost lost my pencil container. So I just tap that off. I have a tray down here. I clean this up when I can. I do have some sediment here with the white, and I can blow that off, or I can just tap it in a little bit. That works too. And so I'm going to show you guys that value and how much it really can affect, you know, what we can do with this black pencil. Now, we can just go in here and really push some of this contrast back. And that, I really love doing this. So this is kind of my jam. So I can, you know, put scribbles in here. And I can tap it down, blend it in a little bit. I can take those scribbles out just by knocking them down a little bit, or they can show. So you can use this black pencil is a 10 on the value scale. So if you're going on here, you don't get many 10s. Got to celebrate the 10s. So the paper doesn't get to a 10. The PanPastel doesn't get to a 10. The PanPastel is a 9. And so to get a 10, you can see here, we're going to get a 10 here. So see how that is like a big yes on the 10. So that's what I love. I used to order a special dark pastel pastel stick and use that. But then I realized that the pastel pencil was a really solid 10. So I'm almost burying these earlobes up a little too much, but that's fine. I can just reshape them a little bit. I really just want them to kind of fade off into the background here. So I'm going to go in here and just start. And I really like the opportunity to be able to even put some pattern in here. And how you can play with value. So I have a really light layer of PanPastel. I'm using the side of the pencil, and then you can even take your finger and knock that down a bit, or you can keep it strong. But I'm loosening up in here. And maybe I do these marks and maybe I look back on it and go, okay, those were a little much or not or whatever. You're not going to know unless you try. So I might have to bring that earlobe back a little bit. So right around here, we're going to have a lot of contrast because this is a focal point. And I can rub this up onto the cheek. And even if I have to go back and hit it a little bit with something, it's going to give me that edge of shadow that blends it in a little bit more natural. Almost lost the neck on there, but I think I can still see it. It looks fine. And then I can blend this out a bit. And you can use your pastel tool, but the pastel tool will knock down some of your pastel pencil. So we're just got some mark making in there. I always love incorporating some of that. And then, you know, I got to sharpen the pencil. So I'll take a moment here, check up on chat. Thank you, Michelle. Susan. Oh yeah, I already read that one. Loretta says harmonizing color is enchanting. I'm glad you think so. It's really a big one, you know, when you learn how to harmonize, and that's what I'm talking about, curating your palette. So whenever you're doing a painting, you're pulling together. Now, this might look overwhelming, but I really only have a couple families in, you know, a few families in here. I have my bright yellow green, you know, I got my blues. But a lot of these, you know, the burnt sienna is taken up quite a bit because I have 4 burnt siennas in here. These are in a family. So I'm working with those families. It keeps me focused. I'm not just grabbing random colors off of the, you know, out of all of the PanPastel colors, because having over 80 colors is really overwhelming. So this really helps out a lot. I'm glad that you guys are mesmerized. I can't believe it's 3:14 already. Oh, good. I'm glad you feel like you're absorbing it and taking it all in. And Michelle says it really builds character with all those certain facial marks. Any other teacher would be happy that her students are being so good in listening and taking it all in. And I'm referring to a school teacher, totally different when I was young. Oh, that's so true. You guys know what I mean. You're teasing me. I watched an acrylic tutorial on harmonizing colors, and palette was picked, and then mix all the colors together and then added a little of that to mix back in the core color. I tried it with pans and it worked. Yeah, it's definitely works when you work with a limited, you know, you pick out those colors and you curate them. And if you're a stick pastelist and that's all you did were sticks, maybe you just put a little PanPastel under painting on there. You watch them, they pick them all out with all values. All of it's all curated. So the reason why we get away with using less is because we can push things back with black and we can pull things forward with white. And so that's one of the main benefits with this color family. Oh, thank you. That's what I love the most too, Trisha. I love using the black pencil. So I've gotten this sharpened here and you start to learn where those values lie. So now I can know that that is a lighter dark underneath, and I know this pencil is going to allow me to do all this cool mark making. And that is because I've learned that I know my PanPastel will only go so dark. So now I know I can do all these fun little mark making, like these are the trees. And we got a little forest, and then I can knock them down a little bit. This is some of my favorite spots. Now, I don't know why. I need to go over and bring that in a little bit because this is like a hole right there, and I didn't mean for that to be a hole. So there's things that you got to step back and look at for a minute and see where you want to go. Like I'll say I'm really happy with her skin tones on her face. I probably won't fuss too much more. I got to do eyelashes, and I got to add a little bit more to her face for sure. But this hole here, I'm going to fix that right now. But there's certain things you can't see. So I always suggest stepping away from your piece overnight and then going back into it, because you won't see everything. And at night after these lives and everything, I'll take a photo of I have a photo of the piece, and then I'll just sit there and stare at it and look at it and see, you know, what I'm liking and what I'm not liking and things like that. And see, now if I was using a tan paper, all of these little spots that I have not filled in would peek through. All of them right here, everything in here would peek through. And I would have to push those the other way. Now I'm working with the black, so I want those patterns to go in, and I'll spend time burying them, but I might keep them a little free because I like that that's peeking through. So I'm looking at that, this spot here, I can darken that a little bit because it's underneath the waterfall, but I don't want it to look like a hole. And then I can even darken this plant here. I can put some black in there. Hey, Michelle, thanks for cheering everyone on. I always love it when I see all those likes on the video when you guys are done. It's just nice that you're here. That's one thing you can do when you're live. So if all of you are there and you haven't clicked like, I would love that if you would do that. Thank you, Michelle. I'm glad you think she's got kind eyes. I'm finding curating my colors is harder now that I have all the new colors. I just need to show up and play with them. Yeah, if you just have to show up and play, like look how reserved I am. And of when I'm doing my Pastel Insider lessons, I'm not pulling in a lot of the new colors. I know how to mix this, so I'm being real conservative. So I'm pulling in what makes the decision to pull the new color in is how much are you going to be using it. I'm using this burnt sienna light and red iron oxide light a lot. So I curated that into the palette. And that is what made the decision. I'm not going and saying, oh, I want to use these new colors today, and that's what I'm pulling in my palette and then working. I'm working with what am I trying to create today? What color families am I going to be using? And which ones do I think I'm going to pull the most from? Or what do I want to just mix? And so it really helps you just to go ahead and mix the colors. Is just as valuable, or even more sometimes, than having every color in there. Like, I think it's just too much. I wouldn't have, usually I don't have anything more than the 20 here. I've been stacking just to show you values of the families, but all of the core ones, I haven't been changing any of the cores out. I've just been putting ones in that are family based. So I did bring the turquoise in to mix those two. That was one change I did make, but all of the cores are there, and then I'm just stacking families on families. And those are because I just, during the live, like to show you a different levels of how much you need to mix and not. So let's see here. So I'm going to work on the sky a little bit and balance that out. I have this beautiful phthalo blue light. The decision to bring the phthalo blue light in was I was picking what blue I wanted to use for my sky. And I'm going to, and I got another wand almost down. And so I have this division here of a transition that I'm going to work on. Now I talk a lot about in the earlier lesson about desaturating your color, so you'll be learning a lot about that too, which really is helpful. This one's down for the count. I just need to take them out of my thing. So you can see how I'm radiating that sky over, and now I can even add some white. So I'm going for a lighter wand, trying to find a lighter wand, and I can go in here and just want a touch of that coming through. So I'm going to go through the back of the rainbow a little bit. It's going to be a little brighter, and then I'm going to go back and forth. Today has been a day with soft tools, I've got to say. But no, I don't clean my soft tools, Michelle. I gave up on that a long time ago. I go through them. When my soft tools are done, they're done. They have a, you can see this one maybe. So the edges get on there and they start, when they get pretty broken like that, I might save them for like a base layer or something, but I don't anymore. I just ditch them. And I kind of just don't even try to think about it anymore, because the soft tools are, I don't want to be held back because I've went through a soft tool to make a decision of something. I used to wash them, but I go through them before I need to wash them. So I wipe off, I don't wash. So I have my microfiber towel down here, and if I show you guys, like, you can see how much I'm wiping off. So I'm wiping off my tools onto here, and then I have a lot I've gone through. So when I'm wiping all of those off, that's how I clean my tool. And I will switch to I will take an old tool and use that for another painting if it's gone to a darker wand. So here's like all of my wands that I have right now. This is what it looks like. And see, they're in different ranges of darknesses. So I would use this for a black, but it's almost getting worn. And then I can use these for, you know, I'll grab them if I know there's certain colors embedded in them. Like I can use this for greens, blues, you know, then this is my light wand that I'm using right now. So I just wipe off, and because I'm doing color harmony so strongly, it works fine for me. I'll just grab a new wand if those colors are, if I need to. So I want this to be a little bit more glowy. I know we had that bright, that blue pretty flatly put in there. And it's cool because you can put like rays if you wanted to. This medium's really beautiful for doing things like that, but I'm just going to, I want it just to be glowy. So I have to build that up because it will move around. I'm not trying to rub it into the paper. I'm trying to blend it in and then keep my layer there and then blend it out. And so I got a little bit of my rainbow in there. And then I'm blending. So I'm wiping off my tool. There's no pastel on it. And then I'm blending that in. So you can see how we got that radiant of light right here. And you can see how there's warms. All the warm greens are right here. We got some cool in the shadow. I'm looking on my monitor. Why am I not looking on here? I don't know. I get so used to looking at the monitor too. I could probably bring these trees up a bit and some of these, but I still have another, layer or so to do. So I have a little ways yet, and I definitely have, to play with the hair and everything. So like an idea for the hair is like I'm going to be, I have this 310, which is the carmine red, and when it goes over there, so you can create some hair. So definitely get some of that hair marks in there. I don't know, I think you can see it. It might be too close. If I do clean my soft tools when I was, a little bit, I just got where I know that wiping them off is better, but if I did, I just use soap. And then I just rinse them out really good over and over and over again. It took me so much time, and then I had to let them dry. And it just, I don't know, I just ended up not using it more. All right, you take care, Tricia. So glad that you were here today. We're going to be wrapping up here. We're pretty much almost done. I just was showing some of the hair, but I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So if you guys have any more questions, this is a great time to ask. I hope you enjoyed a peek into this week's Pastel Insider lesson, which I'm calling Imaginative Portraits. And I will look forward to showing you where I take this, because I definitely have a few more layers to do. But I have to say I kind of got her face to a pretty good spot. So I'm pretty happy with her face. I still have to put a few eyelashes in, things like that. So, hi Jonas, you just snuck in right when I'm getting ready to sign off. Oh, I wonder if that time zone changes, is change your time, because you are in Sweden, right? I think I'm right that you're in Sweden. Yes, Michelle, not expecting them to last long, but at that price, happier to throw them away. Yeah, they're pretty inexpensive. Well, thank you, Debbie. I'm glad that you think that. I appreciate that. Oh, Sten showed up too. Hi, Sten. We're just getting ready to sign off, but I'm so glad that you guys were here today. Oh, little Sunny. You okay, buddy? Yeah, so I'll be showing you guys the finished piece like I do at the beginning. I showed you last week's piece, so if you missed that, go watch the replay and you can see last week's finished piece. I also try to post them all on social media. But yes, it's 11:30 p.m. there. Okay. I don't remember where you're from, Sten. So, all right, you guys. Well, you take care. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about skin tones and some easy ways to use them. And come here, buddy. You want to say goodbye to everybody? Come here. And then I will be on live. Oh, I bumped my camera, it looks like. I will be, have my little list and everything, but totally biffed it. So I will be on live like next week. And then I'm taking a week off because I have my online auction. So I'm going to be, I have 35 paintings in it. It's on Facebook. It's Auctions with Stephanie Gagos. I have the link down below if you want to go there and check it out. But I will be doing that the first week of April. So we won't be live streaming then. But I'll put out that in my newsletter and keep you guys posted. So we'll be back here tomorrow. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle Leslie. Francine, so glad that you guys are here. Jonas, thank you. I'm so glad you're a portrait artist. So that's wonderful coming from you. I'll see you next time. I hope I'll be able to see more of you next time because we only got to see you for a few minutes there. Yeah, Karen just said, when's your next week off? So it's the first week of April I'm taking off. And I'll put that in the newsletter. So I'm going to start advertising that. Yep, Michelle, you can see he's a little sunny. He's my little scruffy guy. All right, you guys. Bye, Karen. Bye, Paula. Bye, Michelle. See you this weekend, Michelle. Can't wait to see you. Francine. Thank you, guys. All right. I'll take care.